Looking good. Let's see. Am I able to hear any?
This is some bullshit.
There we go.
We got a new. Someone's filling in for Devin named Matt. I don't think it's Matt. Matt from CPT.
Oh,
But
okay.
I sent him the link. He texted me, so I sent him the link to the Studio at CPT email.
Great. I see them. Yeah, they're there.
Good.
Yeah, they're there. They're in. You won't see them because they're in the thing. Hi, chat room. By the way, we're Johnny and I are here. We're just behind the scenes chit chatting about stuff. Hi. There he is. Look at that. There's Johnny Million, and he's live, and he's looking up. He's looking up his pretty punim right on some website. You know.
Tickety tick. Yeah, I'm shopping for. Man, if I'm gonna riff, I need to like make stuff up quicker than I do.
Canned beats.
I'm shopping for some canned beats.
Right. Canned Beats is was that like fake improv troupe or whatever? I forget where that was, but it was, the very example of bad improv. They called it, and the name of the group was Canned Beats. Right. Hi, chat room. Good to see you. Welcome. Hello. Let's see if I can get I probably can.
Imagine.
Oh, there's Chicago. We hear him. Heard him for a second. Looking good. Looking real good.
Look at this.
Yes. You stole it.
I've got a drawer full of them over here. I've even got the very rare skinny, fat to skinny one.
Is it a three loop one?
It brings sleep, baby.
Yep. Mine are all currently in use. I'm not trying to brag or anything.
Unstoppable.
Look at this. This thing is plugged in. This is being used, which is why I sound like Jeff Tate when I'm talking these days. And why I keep coughing, because I have that tickle that's left over from when my voice went, and it just lingers. It's nothing. It's non-productive. It's so annoying. It's not like unlike Trump this week, where he was just like, I think he took all the mucus in the world, and that's why I wasn't able to cough. I can't cough because he literally has all the mucus.
It's not fair for him to take all the mucus.
Yeah, it is not. I mean, it makes sense, but still. What's up, Victor Louis? What's going on? Johnny, live in person. No, he's not actually live in person. I wish.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Now, live from Chicago, the Hal Sparks radio program Mega Worldwide.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
Hal Sparks, actor, comedian, and multimedia personality.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Hal Sparks.
All right, let's do this.
A lot of people on the live stream are like, Johnny and Hal are together again. And like, no, we're not that lucky. It's just digital. I just like, hello, lovely person. You can't because your hand disappears. Yeah, it's terrible. People on the radio don't know what the heck is going on. Welcome to the show, everybody. It's Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide, now with 100% more Johnny Million. Well, I think 80% more, because last week we definitely had 100% because we were in studio together.
Yeah,
that was lovely.
100.
We were talking a little bit before the show about Trump's big primetime address this week. Did you watched pieces of it, right?
Oh yeah. I saw him just absolutely forget how to make words and sentences a couple of times.
Yeah,
it's just brilliant.
The biggest thing, and I'm not kidding.
On CBS, right?
Well, I mean, for those that find themselves needing to be tortured, I did an entire takedown of it on my channel at Infotainment Wars on YouTube, and so people should check that out. I thought the biggest story of the whole thing was the just amount of slobber and mucus that was coming out of this man. He was chasing. How you're getting to the point. Like, I have this little tickle cough that's, I lost my voice. It's back now, which is so reassuring. Oh my God, I got my high notes back middle of this week. I'm trying to be careful, and because I got to sing week after, this one, and I'm like, okay, don't get ahead of yourself. don't start tearing at things and messing around, right? But I do have that like dry tickle that's still left over when you've had a cough for a little bit. And it's just like the reflex. There's nothing there, right?
Right.
And my new theory is that he hogged all the mucus and it was in his esophagus because it was so gross. So much so that the White House put out a clip of Trump, on their main site, like their little, like, we busted the deep state, the like page on the White House website. Yeah. And brutal. And he, and I'm honest to God, I don't know why they pick. I get it why Fox News sometimes uses really awful pictures of Trump. One, because they don't have a choice. There aren't a lot of non-awful pictures. Just his mugshot and one other that he likes that they used for the new like Trump, coin that they gave him just as a trinket to pay with when he turns the world into the John Wick Hotel.
He loves that
his
mugshot.
Oh, he does. So,
the John Wick Hotel where you pay for everything with the gold coins.
Yeah. That's
everybody
all.
Knows you.
That's all from Ayn Rand, by the way. That's all. That's all from Atlas Shrugged. It's it's the perfect future idea where real skill is paid for just a single gold coin, and it's the quality of the work that matters. So if somebody builds you a house or brings you a flower, it's the same thing because you're rewarding effort and activity, that kind of stuff, and special powers and capabilities and style.
I did not see that coming. See what I
did not. Yeah, right. I did. So on the White House's page, let's see if I can show you this because this is I know why Fox.
The last time I was on the White House's webpage.
Oh, unfortunately, I spend it. Too much time there because I have to. This is their video library part of the page.
Hey, all right, we need a still frame. Right. No, more teeth. I need to see what they really see as veneers.
So for those listening on the radio, he's snarling basically, and they think that's the shot that makes him look tough. When in reality, by the way, in that shot, he is not barking at the media and taking down the deep state. He's literally snarling at the difficulty of words to pronounce, like disclosure, like when he tries to say disclosure and can't get the C out. So this is all of them. This is the clip they put on their site. So let's hear what their version of, this is a great example, right? They're going to it's a minute long. This is a minute clip that the White House picked and put on the site as if you're not going to watch if you're not going to watch the speech, this is all you need.
Every American deserves to know that when they cast their vote, that vote will be counted accurately in a system, and that is to make that system secure.
Okay.
So that's not a microphone going bad?
No, that is not a microphone going bad. That is snot in his throat. And it happened I think 6 times. And what he tries to do is he doesn't clear his throat.
Why would you do that?
Well, here's the problem. And this might be a real thing. You ever try to clear your throat and the mucus is too far down? It's actually in your lungs. You know what I mean? It's deeper than that. That's what it sounds like. That's not something that's just in the back of his throat, which is already
poppies up.
Yeah, we've already heard, the issues. I have Doc Adam on my show, and he talks about
that this week.
Yeah, the swallowing issue that older people have, which is why Trump, when he reads his speeches off the table, he slurps because the saliva just starts falling out of his face, and he has to slurp it back up, and he can't swallow it properly. This is the same thing. Listen to this.
There are two things that I'm terrified of when I get older. One is drooling and not noticing. It would just be so bad. And the other is my default position being this.
Right. The open mouth, when's pudding, right?
Just point me to the woods and say that there's ice cream in there and lock the doors. And once you see me doing that, just, Okay.
Right. It's a deal. Take you down by the river and float ice cream by on a little.
Yeah, whatever that weird Japanese thing is that they like take old people up into the mountains and just leave them.
Right. Or the Eskimo ice flow thing. That's the ice cream flow. We're going to release Johnny Million on the ice cream flow. It's like, yeah.
As soon as I don't know to close my mouth, that's where I'm begging you to put me.
Okay, right. I'm not even going to touch that with a 10-foot pole, but yeah.
System, and that is to make that system secure, one where cheating and interference are not just difficult.
Okay, so he gets past the hump, and then he puts his hands on the podium to like steady himself, right?
But virtually impossible. Unfortunately, the system we have today falls catastrophically short of that standard. Tonight, I'm announcing the immediate declassification.
Yeah, notice how like it's starting to come up again, and he doesn't like he speaks less forcefully because he's afraid that like he's modulating air so he doesn't gob all over the microphone.
What I love about this is that this is zero about content.
Right. It's impossible to get. First of all, let me tell you, in my defense, Johnny Million. First of all, I'm content heavy all week long. Secondly,
all week long, but then you get to me, and all I do is throw you under the.
No, I'm not even blaming you because there is no content in this.
Yeah,
there isn't any.
Same old things.
It's and there was one big omission that I think sailed right over everyone's heads. Let me finish the rest of this. We'll take a break. And then after the break, I want to see, like some people who watched my takedown will know what the big omission was in this speech. The one curious thing he left out.
Critical intelligence revealing shocking vulnerabilities in our election infrastructure. This evidence shows that the election system we have dangerously exposes like levels never thought possible.
Like this is the clip the White House put on there. They didn't cut together.
This is their feature, and they didn't trim out the garbage.
No, they did not. I don't know that they can. I honestly, as many times as I stopped during my takedown, I don't know that you could do that. And there's no cutaway angle, right? Because it was a live speech, so they can't patch it the way they normally do. But I would like to. Apparently our election system dangerously exposes things.
Like levels never thought possible, to hacking, exploitation, and foreign interference. Just as disturbingly, this vital information has for many years been covered up and hidden from you. The American people, our beautiful, our great American people.
I don't know. That little side note, that was how he ended it. And also, may I point out, hold on, why is that closed? May I point out that on the White House's site, they do the little TikTok translation, or the like below.
Yeah, there's always like a captioning.
Yeah, the caption. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. When he said our, it says R, A-R-E, like on the White House one. Like you have the transcript.
You got the transcript. You don't rely on AI for your transcript for the presidential address.
It's right. Yeah. Even when he also just look at it once. You can fix those even when they do those live on whatever.
Yeah, you go through them. You
go
like,
through. That's not what I said.
Our.
Or do you occasionally do? You know what? That's really hilarious. That's not what I said, but it's probably what it sounded like I said. So leave it. I don't care. That's funny. Excuse me. Anyways, we'll be back right after this with the big omission from the speech. The one major red flag that I don't see anybody else noticing. We'll be back right after this. Yeah. It was, dude, it was so rough. He did like this. Hold on. Why did that play? Hold on. Why is that playing there? Hold on. It started playing country music.
Will be counted accurately in a system, and that is to make that.
Yeah. I know. A hawk and a high. It makes me like want to clear my throat.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm having a hard time not.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It's and again, that was the best clip. They pulled that. And then one of my favorite other things, and this is such a tell, and then we'll get to this in a minute. He needs the hawk to a girl. Oh, good. Somebody said that in the chat. Thank you.
Hi, Matt.
Welcome back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
All right. You know, during that last little segment, I felt attacked personally, Johnny Million. I felt you dismissed my bringing up the people's concerns, outrage, and disgust at the amount of like the storm of loogies that were trying to crawl their way out of Donald Trump's chest.
It's a loogie storm.
It was a lemmings of loogies just trying to all escape at once. So that you questioned that I wasn't going after the content. Well, how dare you, sir?
Yes, that's exactly what I did.
So let me point out to you how nitpicky I am capable of being about said content, good sir. Let me show you a headline real quick.
I said good day.
Now, this is something that Trump said during the speech. This is a statement that Mark Wayne Mullen said the next day. This is also a statement that Caroline Leavitt said. Okay? And I'm going to read the sentence and see if you can figure out why my content alarm went off. 0 illegal aliens released into the United States by this administration. 0 illegal aliens released into the United States by this administration.
Okay, no.
Mark. Well, if you look at the structure of that sentence, you would recognize that once a person who was formerly undocumented is released into the United States, they categorically have the right to be in the country until their case is adjudicated or they finish the work that they're doing and then they're released on the bro system. So
it's all paperwork, baby.
Illegal aliens are never released into the United States. Migrants who entered illegally are sometimes released, but once they're in, they're not illegal anymore. You see how this works? This is also a great cover for why Trump gave people in the hospitality industry, the farm owners, this bro pass to bring in as many undocumented people as they want, as long as they don't show up on camera, and they can stay as long as they want. Right? We didn't release them; they just arrived. We're just looking the other way now that they're here. Huge numbers based on that. Mark Wayne Mullen, one of his things was, we've deported more than any other administration, 3 million. What was his breakdown of that number? 1.2 million deportees in the last year and a half, or almost, since the president took office. Lower than the Obama and Biden numbers. What he adds to that are the self-deportation numbers that apparently they got from people saying, I'm out, just letting you know. Why would you tell the white you're leaving if you, all right. Turning off someone's temporary protected status or their deferred enforcement protection makes them kind of illegal that day, right? That's where you could spike the number of people illegally being here in the same way that if you have a visa to be here as a student, as soon as it's over, you're technically, the second it's done, you're here illegally until you remedy it, extend it, or something, correct? That seems logical to everyone?
Yes.
Yeah. So they made a bunch more people seem to be in the country illegally because they had status and they turned that status off. then they have this kind of loose idea that if we're willing to look the other way and somebody else will take responsibility for you, we're just going to pretend you're not here. So this fantasy number that they come up with is irritating on its own. But this half of the number that they have given as their deportations to make them look like they're doing an extraordinary job are people who, if they lose their temporary protected status or their deferred enforcement or their asylum claim was rejected, those people normally leave or are deported. And they can be deported directly, or they can go, okay, well, can I have a flight home? That right? Remember the $1,000 plane ticket thing that was going on, where they were just turning off protections that they had, asylum claims post-COVID and that kind of stuff, and then they would give them $1,000 plane ticket home when it only cost $200. I wonder who got the rest of the money, but we'll get into that later. The point I'm trying to make is that the people who tell you the people who don't want to be arrested, I suppose, who lose their protected status and just leave the country, I don't know why they would even notify you. They just go. But if they're going, yes, I'm going to leave properly because I intend to come back as a citizen at some point, and I would like to be a citizen of the country, and then they go someplace else. What do you think the percentage of the 1.7 million or 1.6 million that self-deported sent a note to DHS under Tom Homan saying, I tap out. Thanks for turning off my temporary protected status or denying my asylum claim. I'll be back. Thanks. Can somebody watch my stuff? Yeah. They didn't do it. It's absurd. It's a made up number. And of course it is. Okay. So those kind of things tip me off when I'm reading these kind of things. When they say, like, this week, Russ Vaught, look at the stuff that he said. Look at what Todd Blanche said this week. They're lawyering their way through stuff. Todd Blanche, ironically, worse than anybody, like the dumbest answers and seeming to miss like opportunities where lawyerly language would allow you to sneak by. You could pretend to not be able to say stuff you absolutely can say and all that. I've got executive privilege, even though it deals with stuff that wasn't in place before, that kind of stuff. You could find wiggle room even if you're just evading. I'm not that great at genuine lying like that. But there was a lot of that this week. There was a brag. Thank you. Yeah. There was a lot of that this week. There's a lot of tiptoeing around the truth and blatantly stomping on it. And just kind of these weird dodge statements that they do all the time. Again, once you're released by the federal government to await a hearing, you're no longer here illegally. You have been given permission to stay until such time as you have a hearing. That's how it works. And they also use illegal aliens, which is interesting because migrants is usually what they bug about the southern border, but they're pretending nobody has crossed it, which is not the case. There was a train car full of dead people about 3 weeks ago of people that just cooked in the sun who were trying to sneak across in a train car. And there were other people in the other cars. The people in this one just all died, which the idea that was the only train car with people crossing the border into the United States illegally, and they just all happened to die of heat stroke in the same car it's absurd, right? It's just the numbers don't match up. So what was the big thing that was missing from Donald Trump's big speech to the nation this week? What really stood out in his big blathering address besides the phlegm? Never, not once, did he utter the word rigged. Oh. You would think that in all of this, right, that's been his key phrase. The one he can't help but say.
He can't not say it.
Right. Except in this case, where they know he is going to hand out the information after the speech. They're going to release all this stuff and try to push this narrative, but they don't have it. It was not rigged. It specifically was not rigged. You can say it was people were turned against you. The media hates me. They tricked the voters into hating me. But that's not a rigged election. A rigged election, and why people balk at the phrase all the time, is that somebody got in there, switched the votes, added ballots, destroyed ballots, stopped ballots from getting where they were supposed to go, hacked the voting machines, all that kind of stuff. And while he made these bizarre, the possibility of hacking exists. Well, guess what, dummy? It's always existed. We saw war games. But because we have a decentralized election system, it's near impossible to have a statistical impact on the election, which, don't get me started, is my next big pet peeve after the break. But in this whole thing, he does not say the election was rigged. He said we can't trust our elections. There's tons of vulnerabilities and all that kind of stuff, which again reeks of like, oh, so you're saying Elon Musk helped you win 7 swing states last time and you don't really have a mandate and your poll numbers haven't taken a dive. They were just never that good in the first place. So you can't bring up rigged because people might look behind the curtain. But the reality is the evidence they handed out didn't show evidence of rigging at all. Not anywhere close. No messing with the material aspects of the infrastructure of our voting at all. And the only evidence that anybody really has, besides like people in the villages voting 4 times for him and that kind of stuff, which we've covered ad nauseum, or the guy who killed his wife allegedly he's on trial and used her ballot after he had killed her, allegedly, to vote, which he pled guilty to. And he's on probation while he's on trial for murdering his wife, who he voted for Trump in her dead stead. That in all of these, in his claims about the rigging, what he actually showed was if there was favoritism in any way by China or Russia, and this is why he played up China and barely mentioned Russia. He said Russia the same number of times he said Iran and North Korea, and he didn't bring up them at all as far as what they actually did. It was all just China trying to financially manipulate businesses into not liking the president's plan, like doing tariffs and limiting stuff. That was the whole, like, they messed with the farmers, remember, on his last watch, and he had to give a deal to the farmers. I give billions to the farm, right? That was his gripe about 2020. But that was at the same time he was telling us that COVID was going to go away like snot on a banister, and he trusted Xi Jinping, and they had a great relationship, and he'll talk to him about COVID. Yep, exactly. Meanwhile, they've still been friends this whole time. What does this do today with our relationship with China? If China was the primary villain in this, are we declaring war on them next, or would you have to wait for Cuba? We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide. Okay. Hold on one second. I'll be right back.
Okay.
All right. Oh, wait. Johnny left. You
left me alone. I had to hide behind the president.
Oh, you didn't? Did the sound effect not play? Maybe it was just really quiet. Oh, yeah.
Can you not hear me?
No, I can hear you. I know. I'm playing.
Oh, you're playing.
Did you hear that? Yeah. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That was fine. Somehow this one was.
I heard that. I ran outside. I heard that, and I have to go.
Rigged.
Your butt's rigged.
Your butt's rigged.
Your mom's rigged. Why is your mom just the Gen X comeback? It is in my chamber all the time.
Right.
At work, and everywhere. And not everybody thinks it's funny, so I don't say it every time.
Mm-hmm. Excuse me. Let's go. This one. Yeah. Okay. So this is.
Hey guys, stand by.
Thank you.
You're locked into the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
So not only was the election not rigged, but so much so that Donald Trump couldn't even use his favorite word in his nationwide address, which he was more angry about ABC and
stuff.
Yeah, ABC and CBS covering that than or not covering it. Can I say for the record, though, that the clip that I saw that I played for you guys that the White House put up is actually one of ABC's clips they posted on Twitter, I guess, and the White House just grabbed the same chunk and posted it.
Whoopsies.
Or either way, vice versa. Either way, there's one out there with an ABC bug up in the corner, and it's that clip. And he's like, ABC, fake news, hiding my stuff. And you're like, dude, you wish they hid your stuff. Now, I'm going to play a piece of audio of Tom Tillis at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau hearing this week. And he's going to be talking to someone. And Johnny Million, I want you to, I'm not going to play the video on the screen, so you can't see it. But Johnny Million, I want you to tell me who you think he's talking to just by listening to the voice.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Bott, thank you for being here. Tell me the one DOGE initiative that you think is the best example of the work that was done before DOGE was quiesced in CFPB, or you can go anywhere else. But just give me the best example of what you thought was an exquisite realization of value that came through cuts that worked their way through the DOGE office.
Well, I do believe that the reductions in force as a tool.
Which specific one?
In general.
Yeah, but I want.
I'll give you one clue. Mr. Show.
To get specifics, you and I have different backgrounds. Mine was in enterprise.
David Cross.
And I did this for a living. And
listen,
so I don't
Russ Vought must be played by David Cross on SNL immediately.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's not word salad, Senator. CFPB, I'm trying to do a reduction for.
Oh, wow. Across the board.
Yeah. Once you hear it, you can't unhear it. Now, on top of that, right now, Russ Vought forever you'll recognize it. Tom Tillis, who's on his way out, obviously, made
word salad though. He was asking him a question about what DOGE did that was good.
Well, Tom Tillis says to Russ Vought, "I don't want a word salad answer." So this is Tillis
in his answer.
Yeah. So Tillis, it's a great question, and I already know the answer, and you already know the answer, and everybody already knows the answers. There isn't one. And the only way that DOGE looks good is if you, I don't know, if you put gauze over your eyes and squint really hard and try not to pay any attention to any details. Well, let me, this was, because again, it's sad a little bit that Tillis is on his way out the door, because I think he could have revived people's faith in bipartisanship and sensible Republicans if he'd have stayed in office and ran, even though they were probably going to try and run him out. Here you go.
DOGE initiative that you think is the best example of the work that was done before DOGE was quiesced in CFPB, or you can go anywhere else. But just give me the best.
By the way, DOGE officially died last week or early the week before, or late the week before. It officially was over as a full program. Don't worry, though. Elon Musk's operatives are still in every cabinet of Trump's administration. And if all the maggots are like, he went to Israel because of Netanyahu or whatever, which I'm sure Netanyahu would like him to do. But if he ever does anything where the maggots are like, why would he do that? He promised not to do that. And maybe because he's being blackmailed by Elon Musk and all of his operatives that are threaded throughout his entire administration in these like mid-level, no-name jobs, but have access to everything.
Example of what you thought was an exquisite realization of value that came through cuts that worked their way through the Doge office?
Well, I do believe that the reductions in force as a tool.
Which specific one?
In general.
Yeah, but I want to get into specifics. You and I have different backgrounds. Mine was in enterprise implementation. I did this for a living. And so I don't want a word salad answer.
Well, it's not word salad, Senator. CFPB, I'm trying to do a reduction in force.
But I'm just asking you across the board. Give me one best, because here's what I'm asking for. The Doge office has been quiesced, okay? But there were a lot of claims of billions and billions of dollars in savings. I simply want to know where you booked them and where I can see it.
I didn't run Doge, Senator.
You are OMB, right?
I am, but I am not Doge.
You do track the
Office of Management and Budget. Like, that's where Tillis is trying to get him to. And Russ Vought is like, $148 billion. It was $148 billion. And I cannot now watch anything with Russ Vought without thinking David Cross. It's impossible.
And when I work,
it's so weird. I mean, he even has a white beard. It's not as full and kind of, sturgis as David Cross is these days.
Business. And we had to implement efficiency. We got engaged to come in, do activity-based accounting, whatever was necessary to identify the efficiencies. Then we go to the CEOs and say, part of this is going to be a reduction in force. We're going to do this in a methodical manner. The number one thing we want to do is absolutely have a reduction in force that looks at our best and brightest, that 18 to 25% of the organization, and make damn sure that they don't get a "you're fired" notice. And then we would send out a reduction in force and an efficiencies program that does people, technology, and infrastructure. Give me an example of where that was done over the year that Doge was in place.
Well, I think the extent to which we
let me back up. The reason I'm targeting you is because I.
By the way, he was about to say to the extent we shut down the deep state.
Look at you as the
seemed
guy
to be what he was saying there.
Who books the savings. After we work, let's say we work with whatever department it is, then we got the savings. We come to you and we say, Mr. Vought, this is no longer going to be a part of our expense run rate. You can actually tell the administration that we can decrement that cost because we've cut the savings. Give me the best example of where Doge has done that.
Well, I have been saying in terms of...
No, because give me the best example of where a Doge initiative,
Senator,
once they completed the work, came to you and said, Mr. Vought, you should be aware that our baseline run rate for expenses have gone down. Give me...
Oh, he's... For those that on the radio, Tom Tillis is wearing a bolo tie with a big, like, decorative, I don't know, clip on the point of it that looks like... Yeah. I mean, it looks like a cookie for the America's 250th that you would get at Cracker Barrel. Sorry, Honky Bucket.
We have an appropriations process, Senator.
I'm sorry?
There's an appropriations process.
This is it! Oh, my God. That's the part that we have an appropriations process. This is it. This is
the process.
This is, and part of like them checking on why you run things. And they have you bring your math, and then they check your math, and then they question the validity of the decisions of whether the math was a good choice or not. Holy smokes. And the reality is it speaks to a few things. One is the Trump administration is trying to bury Doge's existence. They just want to memory hole it. It was such a brutal failure and created such vulnerabilities and infighting amongst the administration itself that it was not only worthless, it did interior damage to their communications and their ability to just function. The USAID cuts that everybody was decrying, by and large, got folded into the State Department so that because the Congress outlays that money. The only stuff that Trump was able to cut is the stuff that the sort of slush fund extra that they give in this kind of funding for something like USAID, so the president can, fulfill some promises and that kind of stuff with priorities. He can prioritize about 15% of the overall budget of USAID. The rest of it is tried and true and spoken for by and large. And so it doesn't change all that much because it works. And if it doesn't work, they've shelved it a long time ago, or it actually is cover for a CIA thing that's more important. I guess that would be the other possibility. But either way, like USAID, for the most part, big portions of it still exist under the State Department. Marco Rubio is clearly under orders from the Trump administration to continue the work that Democrats and other Republicans established over time, the establishment programs that they put together. Just keep them going. But we'll tell our supporters we got rid of them. I mean, most of the lying that we see these days that's coming from the White House, they're not lying to you and me, Johnny. They're not lying to my audience. No. We know better. They're lying, by and large, to the maggot base, who is flipping out. Trump's poll numbers are worse than they were in the first term, and the worst of any president ever, and lower than Joe Biden's, who he keeps calling Sleepy Joe while he falls asleep in meetings. I just, honest to God, and the idea that one of the other big things that he was touting this week, that Trump was touting, was merit, right? That the Supreme Court gave us merit back. And then it's been a parade of incompetent goons sitting in front of, or lackeys who are, their only competency is in, perpetuating crimes on behalf of the president. That's why they're there. Either he thinks they're good liars, which none of them are, by the way. And that's why
how bad they are.
They're terrible at it. And with all this practice, you'd think they'd be better at it. Honest to God, you ever sit there?
Like, these reps are not paying off.
No. You ever watch one of them and go, why would you say it that way? Like, I can come up with 9 ways to lie this out if I needed to.
Exactly.
I could, it's
and,
odd.
And you're like, why did you emphasize that word? This is not, why are you circling back to this to draw more attention to the thing that you're trying to lie about?
Exactly. And it's because they're trying to crowbar, the belief that what they're saying is true in there more than they want the lie to just pass and move on.
Right.
They're emotionally invested in your actual belief, not in, all right, I'm going to move on. I only got 5 minutes to question you. So we know you're full of crap. Let's move on to the next one. Right. That's where a lot of them get. And when the hearings go really well, especially amongst Democrats, is when they tag team, where they pick up on what the last Democrat was saying, kind of like, move on, don't re-ask the same stuff. But referencing that you dodge somebody else's stuff. Why did you give that kind of answer when I have a quote from you right here that says this, and then dovetail back into the real answer you're trying to get from them? Right. The extraordinary part of it was watching the speech this week, and then of course the Todd Blanche stuff, which the speech was mainly there to cover. Let's be honest. Todd Blanche's hearing, which with the Epstein survivors there and all that stuff, and him being forced to meet them, which they said was dismissive. And he only did it in a perfunctory, and he was condescending to them. And he only did it because Tillis said he would only vote for him if he met with them. The meeting was a travesty. Mainly Trump's address this week was to cover that. The entirety of this. And the maggot voting problem, which is real. Maggots aren't ready to vote. They're not lining up to vote this fall to show their support of what Trump is doing, or what their faith in the Republican Party as a whole. And Democrats are voting proactively or defensively and are ready to do it in a way that is scaring the crap out of Republicans. Or do you think, just because Tom Tillis is walking out the door and, in a few months, that he would talk to Russ Vought like that? Let me tell you something about Tillis. He's running. He's going to, if it's not 2028, he's looking to be in the cabinet of the next Republican, or even the cabinet of the next Democrat, as somebody that was respectful, of the process. That's what this is. That's what that whole display was. Tillis for president, or Tillis for VP, or Tillis for Democratic cabinet member. For real. That's what that whole takedown of Russ Vought was. because it was legit, it was smart, it showed skill, and it was, showing a budgetary, fiscally conservative consciousness that has been lost in Trump blowing up the budget. We'll be back right after this. It's the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide, on Saturdays on WCPT. Yeah, that it is so odd how Russ Vought sounds.
Put forward a budget that's $160 billion in Doge.
I've heard a lot of people, including you, talk about the Doge savings. I've worked in the business world. My understanding is the last time you worked in the business world was at B. Dalton Books when you were putting yourself through law school.
Damn.
Good on you. But you don't have this experience, and a lot of people that were involved in this do not have this experience. I love the idea of Doge. But what I don't love is the idea of Doge shit that we're picking up because people did it wrong.
That's why we had to cut it before.
I spell it with a $sign, by the way, Mr. Chair. But at the end of the day, we've got to be honest with the American people. We had people running through here and talking about all the savings. At the end of the day, book it. Every single one of these things should have before, after, net savings, and run rate for cost.
Hey, guys, stand by.
Thank you. Like, that's not the talk of somebody who's just going out the door.
This is Tom Hartman, and you're listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide, on Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT.
Welcome back. So, the Doge Dodge and the secondary hearings, I think all of the noise this week, including, I would argue, the Iran war, which has, interestingly enough, we're back at full war with Iran.
That's what I figured. I don't remember it ever really not being that.
So Trump, well, we legally are, because Trump Trump informed Congress 2 weeks ago that we are officially going back to war. That negotiations before he even said what they were. All this time he keeps saying this nonsense about they want to make a deal, which seems entirely predicated on this idea that, like, he thinks you'd have to be insane if a big country like ours was bombing you not to want a deal. It's just that. He's just psychoanalyzing. Like, what would if he's such a coward, he imagines that anybody else would tap out immediately, right? So he can't figure why Iran and its leaders, who, by the way, are religious zealots, is the primary reason why you can't use the same standard. This is not, a UFC fight, you're fighting over a purse, but you're not going to lose your arm over it. You'll tap out. Right. You don't want your neck broken. You'll tap out because that money, although you want it, is not worth that exchange, right? That's where he is. Everything is transactional. And that's how he thinks of everything. But when it comes to the Iranians, they're on, half of them are on a different scale. Now, there were people in place in the beginning, including the older Ayatollah, who had a sort of a worldly view of the realities of how far they could push things, what they would need on a defensive structure, the kind of inner workings of the country, and it's sort of a focus on the overall health of Iran, even as unhealthy as it was. Those people are dead. The people that were there, seconds are dead, right? Trump always brags about this part of it. And what's left is, I've still not been able to figure out why anybody doesn't just slap their forehead every time he says, we find the third group to be more reasonable. Yeah. That's based on the same thing as him saying they're dying to make a deal. Psychologically, he is putting himself as a coward, as the guy who always tacos, in the place of them. Like, if I was getting bombed, they blew up all my stuff, I'd give up immediately, and I'd let them have anything they want. It's like the old Carlin line, or take, do whatever you want to the girl, but leave me alone, right? That's leave me alone, that's Donald Trump's action movie. Yeah. This is, but since it got turned back on, it's kind of been going under the radar in many ways because there was never a ceasefire. So while there was an announcement of continued strikes, we've had a week, all this week, we have had continual strikes every single night. 7th night in a row. Tehran keeps warning of, quote, full-scale retaliation. And again, what's the scale of stuff you have left? What do you mean? Are you talking about terrorism and proxies in other countries, which is the bigger fear that a lot of people have because it could spread through sprawl, through sympathizers and that kind of stuff, which is when you get, 9/11s happening. That's the bigger concern, especially throughout Europe and here. And Iran's official says their commitments to the MOU are suspended. Like they're even using Gango language with Trump. But
Gango language.
There were no commitments that they had to keep up on their end in the MOU in the first place. They didn't. Like Iran will not pursue a nuclear weapon or has no interest in it, the same boilerplate language. That point was specifically not to be addressed until such time as sanctions relief came and billions of dollars were released to them. So they weren't even going to talk nukes until the money was released. And Trump's like, we're not going to release the money until they talk nukes. Like, okay, this is an impasse and everybody knows it. I don't care. Like it. And if the weirdest part, well, the weirdest part is he said several times this week, 2 weeks ago or 2 days ago, 3 days ago, we had a deal and then they came out and broke it. And I mean, over and over, we've been talking about with who? Who did you have a deal with? Who are you talking to? How do you know that even if they wanted to,
none of them are saying that there are these things don't ever come from Iran,
right?
Like the statements about like, oh, we've agreed on this, we've agreed on that.
Yeah. As this continues to escalate, because that's what it's going to do. The big question will be, of course, whether Trump wants troops stationed in, or basically I need to drive every person off of Karg Island, primarily first. The problem is it obviously puts troops that would be stationed there in shooting range. So do you just make everybody leave, like bomb it until it's unlivable? And he keeps saying he wants the oil infrastructure there. And again, this is the guy who said about Iran multiple times, we should have committed war crimes. We should have kept the oil. Which again is, in theory, is the mineral rights and stuff of a country are to the people there. And if you're going to argue that they were controlled by dictators and awful people and you're freeing them and, Operation Iraqi Freedom is that the idea is that the people are going to be able to live themselves. The idea that you would take the oil is just straight up old fashioned imperialism. That's what this is. And anybody who listened to him talk about Iraq, who's shocked that he's talking about Iran the same way and is like, I thought we weren't going to have any foreign wars. You're an idiot. We were all telling you. Where did you not hear from? And to those, and again, I will say this till I'm blue in the face. You owe those people an apology. We weren't hating on you as a human being. We were just trying to warn you that you're being flim-flammed, and you were so committed to that flim-flam that you didn't care. You just didn't want to look like a sucker after you were aware you had been suckered, and that's more important to you than learning a lesson and moving on. The value of regret. I'm going to see if I can find the quote from him where he says Iran made a deal and then they broke it.
Okay.
Made a deal and broke it. Yeah. And like he said this several times over the, is this one? Hold on.
They made a deal. They broke it probably 10 times. And they killed a lot of people. They killed our people. But
so that like 10, we made 10 deals. He's made now he wants credit for stuff that hasn't actually occurred. And he made 10 deals with the Iranians. And all he does is make deals. I'd like to remind you that what this man ran on was the shard of the deal, was that this guy, if he does anything, it's that he knows how to make a deal. And to that end, I mean, we've said this a bunch, but it bears repeating. The guy he's at a family-owned business that it was his dad's and was passed to him, and he bankrupted multiple times, including a time when he had to borrow like $25 million from his brother and sister's trust funds. Yeah, just to keep the lights on. He lost more money in New York real estate the week that Art of the Deal came out as a book than any person in New York history. His father, but he's a second-generation rich kid. That's why he and Tucker Carlson got along so well for so long, because they're both useless. They both are just salespeople for things other people do, and that's been the primary skill. He's been able to BS people, who, by the way, only apparently the people who line up to be BS'd. Because to our media friends who are like, Trump's a master of the media, he's not a master manipulator. It's been patently obvious that he's full of crap for decades. He was a joke in the movie Scrooged. Do you understand?
It's just like, and people, anybody who's like our age from New York or New Jersey has hated him with just,
right.
They hate him.
Especially if they give to charity or work for a charity, because at any point, if it was a big enough one, he'd show up and insist to be seated on the stage, even though he didn't give a dime, ate the free food and left. He wanted, it's ridiculous. But so the idea that he is the deal maker, even if you believe that used to be the case, the idea that this man is sitting behind the desk in the Oval Office saying he made 10 deals with Iran and they keep breaking them, and therefore, then you didn't make a deal. You were, at the very least, suckered by the other side. You bought it. You took their deal. Is there another takeaway? They cheated, they broke it, whatever. You tore up the last one. Well, I don't know why they would make a deal with him. But the primary thing where he's just like,
he presented a deal at the beginning. He said, "Give me what I want, or I'll aim missiles at you."
Well, that's what. So no. He's not good at making deals. He's good at strong arming people. He can strong arm people to the extent that the leverage works. But now he is too weak. He's trying to arm bar a UFC fighter with his spindly little arms and his flabby hands. And it isn't working. They're not tapping out because it doesn't even hurt. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Philip Bittner will be joining us from Kyiv right after this. There were huge explosions in Moscow this morning. Big story there. Lots going on. We'll be back. I'm gonna find that whole
But it gets even worse. Raw intelligence obtained by the FBI in 2020, yet buried by rogue bureaucrats, stated that China's activities even included an attempt to manufacture illegal ballots for Joe Biden. Documents show that during this period, dozens of significant CIA and NSA reports about China's election targeting were kept out of the presidential briefing. These were briefings I would get almost every day.
Hey, asshole. Every day. That's why they call it the daily briefing. It's not the almost every daily briefing. Good God.
And everything I ever heard was that he either didn't pay attention to it or ignored it, or I don't know.
You're not Boston Brian. You hold on. There we go. And guest number 2, Phil's waiting in the wings. We'll bring him in 1, 2, 3. There he is. Hey, Phil, how are you?
Hey, all good.
Excellent. I definitely want to talk about the bombings in Moscow this morning, or I guess earlier, whatever. I don't know what the time difference makes it for you guys, but the fires that are burning in Moscow right now.
Yeah.
Still.
Poor Phil.
And how are you holding up?
Dead.
Yeah.
No, fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the bombings in Moscow are, it's basically their version of a postal, Amazon kind of deal.
Wildberry?
Yeah.
Is that the...
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they also, it's kind of also in retribution for the Russians doing the same thing here with a delivery system called Nova Pochta. So,
Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to bring something up in there. Yeah, let me grab one more thing on that. Is there anything in particular you want to hit on that?
Well, we can't avoid the shakeup in the government, so we'll have to talk about that.
Okay. Let's see.
The protests.
Gotcha. Does it feel organic?
Yes, but much more complicated than that. It's organic in the sense that there are power influences within the government that are conflicting with one another.
Mm-hmm.
You're listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I've had people walk out of me before, but not when I was being so charming.
Video streaming at halsparks.com.
I don't care for you or for the putrid sludge you're troweling out.
Damn, puss-faced little pimp stick.
True progressive talk.
Might be a good time for you guys to give up.
Well, welcome back to the show. Joining us right now is our dear friend Philip Ittner, who is live with us from Kyiv in Ukraine, and of course the host of On the Edge. Were you able to put out a show this week, considering all that was going on?
No, we're gonna take a gap this week, but we've got things scheduled for the following next 2 weeks, so we should be back on more consistently.
Go to the Philip Ittner's channel on YouTube and subscribe there for that. So lots have been going on. Johnny Million will also be farming questions for us from the chat room, which will help immensely. And there's a couple of big pieces of news. Like let's start with the shuffling of the cabinet, which is probably the biggest political news in Ukraine. Is that is it Fedorov? Am I getting it right?
Mikhailo Fedorov.
Yeah, the defense minister.
Yeah, he's a young guy. He's a reformer. He's well liked. He was the minister for digital integration, and by that they meant drone programs. And then he was elevated to Minister of Defense, and he was in that position for about 6 months. It's pretty openly regarded that he and the head of the army, Hsrpm, General Hsrpm, did not get along particularly well. They clashed an awful lot. It appears as though Zelensky has taken Hsrpm's side. That's caused a lot of upheaval. But one of the other things that this points out is that despite the war, and Ukrainians are unified in the defense of the country against the Russians, there still remains a really problematic Soviet system here, where there's not a lot of transparency. There's an awful lot of opaque stuff that happens behind the scenes, and there are power structures and people who are maybe in one camp who are benefiting one another, and there's still so much corruption that a lot of skimming off the top is happening, and maybe you skim off the top of some project that you're a political enemy of yours doesn't like, and so there's all this infighting, and it's sadly it's a remnant of the Soviet system, but it's never going to change until the war ends, because because it's so deeply ingrained. As a matter of fact, it's going to probably take decades to do this, because it's an entirely different mindset, completely different system, completely different mindset about governance and the relationship between the powerful and the electorate. And this is just another example of it. I don't think we're not out of this controversy is not over yet.
Okay.
A lot of people are on the streets. A lot of people want to see Fedorov as the future because he's young. He doesn't have the kind of trappings of the Soviet system. Syrskyi operates in a very, very Soviet way. He is willing to sacrifice lives more than guys like Fedorov, his generation, who would rather use technology and drones and be on the cutting edge and be mass producing drones so that you're not putting people in harm's way. Syrskyi plays favorites. It's well known about that as well. So it's very, very complicated. It's very, very, as I say, kind of obscure, a lot of stuff going on behind closed doors. But given the outcry from the people on the streets, who, it must be said also, have the right of assembly and the right of free speech, which if you were to do this on the other side of the equation in Russia, you would be brutally put down. As a matter of fact, we've seen protests in Russia that were brutally put down. So these have been peaceful for the most part. They're loud, they're energetic, they're out there and they're expressing their anger, but they have the right to do that, and that's a distinct difference between the other side of the equation in Russia, where Putin wouldn't put up with this for 1 minute. So it's all very, very complicated.
Yeah. The biggest question, I guess, is. Is there a chance he would be reinstated, or is there any push to do that?
There's talk of, well, look, okay, so the post remains open. Both the foreign, Zelensky did a major cabinet reshuffle. The only two positions, to my mind, I don't think there's been a change on the foreign minister yet. And the defense minister is going to take quite some time, I think, because of this controversy. But the two positions that remain not ratified, they're still open, are defense and foreign ministry. So we'll have to see what happens with that. It's I think defense is going to be a big problem for him to find somebody to put in there who can work with both sides of this equation. Be a reformer, but also at the same time have the experience to manage the Ukrainian military the way it is structured now. It's going to take a lot more time for the Ukrainian military to fully go through the transformation it needs to do. It needs to do combined arms training, and it needs to adapt drones. Even more so than they already have. And by the way, that's not a criticism of Ukraine's adoption of drone technology, because they're at the forefront of it, but it is a brand new spanking technology. So, can you get a guy like, an old Soviet kind of trained warrior with a lot of experience combined with a young buck who can adapt to these new technologies and these new more Western style combat techniques? And that's going to be a really, really hard thing to do. Now, Fedorov is because of this protest, I think there's a chance that Zelensky keeps him in the cabinet in some other form, and whether or not that really has any pull or power, or whether or not he just does it as a kind of, assuaging the people who are on the streets today, we'll have to see. But I don't think it's the end of the story for him. And
is there any chance he moves him to foreign minister as a tee up for maybe this is the guy, the reformer who could run for office after Zelensky steps down? Because he said that he doesn't want to stay forever. They're going to have elections at some point, and the idea is that you want somebody teed up, I guess, that's more in line with the reforms and the like. Is this guy, we were talking about Tom Tillis basically showing that he's running for president in 2028 because he's stepping down as a senator, and and showing his chest to Trump and being really tough with his guys. And there's almost there's plenty of leash to do that amongst the Republican Party. They're not coming after him internally the way they might somebody else that they generally have a problem with, because I think they recognize this guy might have legs politically. So is there a chance that that's part of the calculation at all?
I don't
know the guy that well.
I don't think he goes into the foreign ministry because he doesn't have the diplomatic chops, but he could be brought in some sort of, head of cabinet or special advisor to the president or something like that. He could stay in the cabinet one way or another, but I don't see him going to foreign. Just because, again, his strength. So this is the guy that he coordinated all the disparate drone private military industrial corporations that have kind of sprung up, these grassroots guys who were doing like 3D printing for for farmers and stuff 5 years ago. And then when the war started, they, all those 3D printers got changed to doing military drones or adapting previous drones that were literally being used to like plant seeds in Ukrainian fields and turn them into things that would drop mortar shells. He's also the guy that maneuvered Musk's Starlink to be shut off in Russia. So he's very technologically savvy, and so you want him in a position where he understands the changing technological aspects of modern warfare, which basically means drones, more or less means drones. So, that's where he really needs to be. Now, if Zelensky wanted to put him into a position where he was like the liaison with foreign militaries, that might be a good fit, but again, I'm getting into speculation.
And so
the most important thing to realize is that this is not done yet. This is a story that is developing as we speak.
Do they not like?
I don't know where he's going to
be. And by the way, do the troops by and large not like Kamara, Yevhen Kamara, or whatever is the guy who's the acting defense guy? I think they just relatively recently. I'm looking at that Andriy Sybiha it became the acting foreign minister. I don't know what their process is like over there confirming people.
Well, they have to be. Yeah, it has to go through the Rada. It has to go through the parliament. So he has to propose. Zelensky has to propose someone. I don't think any of those acting guys are gonna
be the dude.
Actually, be the dude. I think it's a fresh blood time. A new generation time. Not so much maybe with foreign ministry. I mean, you do want somebody who's been out there already.
It looks like Kamara. It looks like a relatively young guy. I mean, if I didn't know better, I think he was a soldier on the front line in that regard. Maybe that's what's going on. Maybe they're going for the whole central casting. Let's take a break. When we come back, I want to talk about the strikes inside Russia that have done. They've attacked effectively Russia's Amazon wildberry, and there's a fire that's burning in Moscow right now, and the smoke is enormous. And I wonder if Trump still thinks Russia, Putin's a great leader who's always winning. And then they long-range attack. They hit a bomber inside Russia as well. One of their most expensive aircraft. They're sort of almost the equivalent of their B-2. The best they've come to it. So we'll be back right after this. It's the Houseparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I'll be right back. Don't let him. I'm muting my mic, so don't let Phil hear me.
Okay, I promise. All right, there you go. Oh, that's the wrong button. Johnny, you were mute.
Back in 20.
Johnny, it's a short one, man. It's a short. There you go. Yeah, cut it off. There you go. We don't have time for this, man. We don't have time. Why? What? Johnny, 20 All right. Okay, he shut I think he found his mute button.
This is Damian Perdue of Think Theory Radio. Saturdays at 6 p.m. You're listening to Hal Sparks' radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Now, the bomber that Ukraine hit was well inside of Russia. It's the Tu-95 strategic bomber. It looks like something that you might have seen in Dr. Strangelove. Whoops, wrong window. Beg your pardon. I'll try and show this on here properly. Here's all my windows that are open that have to require audio. But the Tu-95, move over here, will you? The Tu-95 itself it looks kind of adorable. Is this it? Nope, that's not it. Compared to there it is. Good. The sort of, stuff that we've seen before, and our stuff looks very sleek and black and blah, blah, blah. But this is a very important long range bomber for them. And I don't know that they're in use in attacking Ukraine right now, but the idea that they could be, and they could be used to extend the war towards the rest of Europe, for example, like we're doing Europe a solid. But besides blowing up a big expensive piece of gear, they're doing Europe a solid by blowing up this thing that would be used to strike further into Russia, in theory.
Well, I think this is the thing they call the bear. It's the strategic bomber that is nuclear capable, that every now and again they will fly over the North Atlantic and make the Brits scramble jets. Or they'll do the same thing to us in the Bering Sea, and we have and we have to scramble out of Alaska. It's part of their strategic posture. They've got these things, their submarine fleet, and their ground-based intercontinental ballistic missiles. That's their strategic nuclear capacity. So to take one of these things out is, it hurts their strategic standing, and all at a time when we also know that because of Ukrainian mid-range drones, which are attacking Russia's supply lines, they've had to move air defense capabilities that they had up in the Arctic down to the front lines along the between the borders between Ukraine and Russia, which indicates that their posture is changing when it comes to their strategic defense, because they would never have done that in previous years, because they've always been afraid of, in particular, Britain's Trident system, whether or not legitimately or not. Regardless, people have criticism of the UK's Trident system, but because you need U.S. assistance to launch. But that would have been if they ever get into a direct conflict and a nuclear conflict with Western powers, the North Atlantic and the Arctic is where the Brits would send their subs with the Tridents. And if they've pulled air defense off of that line to bring them down here to Ukraine, it means they're taking these drones and Ukrainian capacity seriously. So the fact that Ukrainians are putting further stress on that strategic posture is obviously purposeful on Kiev's part.
Speaking of strategic stress, so this I'm showing on screen right now. This is in Moscow. This is somebody filming out the window of an airplane that they're flying in. The biggest, transportation hub or whatever for wildberry in the Moscow region, if not the biggest one in Russia, if not the biggest one in the world, technically, because it's their Amazon. It's like their biggest Amazon warehouse in the capital region is on fire to such an extent. For those that are listening on the radio, it looks like something out of the movie Twister. It looks like a Cat 5, or a level 5 tornado. It's enormous. Yes, right. Yeah. So, and this is obviously a big deal. Reason why they hit it was because logistics centers like this get repurposed for wartime use all the time, and they hide it amongst things. This is the human shielding that they do, and Russia has attacked logistical centers, legit ones in Ukraine, using this predicate before. So it could be a tit for tat strike, whether they know that it's being used or whether they're just saying, okay, if you're going to hit ours, we're going to hit yours, because this is going to bring the sort of fight to the lives of the Russian people in a way that it has not right now. Yeah. In the same way that we don't feel the war in Iran right now, by and large, in the United States, even though it is an enormous endeavor we are involved in, because it's too far away and we just don't feel it. The Russian people heretofore have been in a similar situation. They just have not experienced it on a personal level for a while anyways, I guess, since the first conscriptions and before they started scooping up prisoners. This is enormous. If this was like outside of Washington, D.C., in Virginia or nearby Baltimore, and you had an explosion that big and they're trying to put the fire out, and you could basically see it from space if it wasn't so smoky, it would be the biggest news in the country. The question is it there?
Yeah, and that's why it's burning so much, because there's so much combustible stuff in there. I mean, think if you hit an Amazon warehouse, one of their mega warehouses, there's a lot of stuff to burn in there. So, it looks different than an ammo depot would look. Frankly,
with stuff cooking off. You mean
with stuff cooking off and things like this. So, but again, as you mentioned, they about a week ago, they hit one of the major warehouses here in Ukraine for a very similar kind of organization called Novaya Pochta, and so this might be retaliatory. But it's bringing the war to the Russians.
Yeah, this one in particular, the size and scale of it, I think, is enormous, and the amount of video we've had of it is tremendous, considering other sites you've been able to see like a single shot from far away, or they've managed to scrub the internet or keep a lid on stuff, especially since they've been shutting down social media sites within the country. But this one, for whatever reason, I think it's the size and scale and just the reality of it and the reaction of the Russians themselves. It might be that there was maybe a dozen people who would film a building on fire in Moscow that had been hit by one of the rockets in the early part of the war, or a drone rather. And everybody else would just kind of like, okay, we'll expect a couple, but not a big deal. But this is sort of approaching 9/11 territory, where you start seeing the video and it's so extraordinary, it gets passed on, and more people are filming it from more angles, because there's all kinds of footage of this from, like I said, I'm showing up relatively close, from people who look like they're ready to roast weenies on the thing to people that are, in airplanes, probably, 6-10 miles away, filming it, and they can see it with great detail because of the size and scope. And between this and the gas lines, it seems like this is the first time we've really seen the Russians respond to this war. We're at least seeing footage of them on social media sites and other stuff complaining about this, besides Crimeans, I would say. I think all of Russia is Crimea now. That we've seen Crimeans complain about the noise, the war, the violence, the being close to it being scary, lack of resources. But we never saw that inside Russia proper, really, until now.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the Russians have always relied on their size. The fact that they could have places, deep inside their territory that wouldn't be affected by war, and that's no longer feasible. You don't need to be a superpower to send a missile into Siberia. Now the Ukrainians can do it with relatively cheap and new technology. So, one of their big things was being so big that they could put things further away that could be hit, and that doesn't exist anymore, and that's going to change the metrics.
Absolutely.
I think
in Russia. It has certainly changed the response by the Russian people. I just don't know how the Ukrainians are just going to consider business as usual and continue Like, well, this is just, we're being attacked and we're defending ourselves and the like, instead of, I don't know if they're upping their message to the Russian people, like this is an unnecessary war that your leader did, those kind of secondary soft exchanges with the Russian people to try and like, we're only hitting these places because you guys have been bombing us for 5 years straight. And we thought it was a military installation, those kind of things. I think the death toll is like 7 dead and 70 injured. So far in what they've talked about in this.
Well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But in this particular case, like there are almost everybody's flying past this thing in a commercial airplane is filming the footage because it's so extraordinary. There's been a bunch of things that have happened in Russia, is my point, that I have seen show up on Telegram sites, but never on, other social media sites as fully as this one in particular. Maybe it's the fact that it's an Amazon type hub that this is going to affect me as a Russian, like where they're thinking that way, where if they even saw a military site, they're like, we're not even supposed to talk about that. We know that it's a military site. So that maybe mutes their conversation about it. Meanwhile, this is, like, oh man, I had a package that was coming.
Yeah.
And Johnny, we've got about 2 minutes before the break. Do we have any questions yet? No, I want to get to one before we
let me squeeze one in here.
Yeah.
Is it true, this is from Cats and Jam, is it true that Fedorov was, or if I'm saying that wrong, was offered the position of prime minister and turned it down?
There have been rumors about that. I don't know how true that is. I mean, it's possible. It's possible. But again, this is not being played out in the public sphere. What is happening inside the Ukrainian government itself is backdoor dealings. It's, you got to be the man in the room where it happens. That's kind of the situation is. What's visible are the two things that have actually happened. And that is the decree by Zelensky to remove him and the cabinet shuffle. That's unavoidable. That's when you do a cabinet shuffle, you can't hide that. And the other thing that is public is the fact that people are upset about it, and they've taken to the streets. And a lot of people really like Fedorov, and in no small part because he doesn't play like an old style. So he's a young guy, and this is a young country, and so they want that infusion of looking at the world in a very different way than older guys. But then you also have the older guys who have the experience and who have the capabilities that maybe somebody as young as Fedorov doesn't have.
Yeah.
So
we
it's very confused and conflicted.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure parts of it will play out over the near present. Yeah. Let's take a break. We'll be back right after this. It's the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Thanks, Phil.
Do you hear about the other mill blogger, the pro-Russian mill blogger guy who got arrested for fake news because he was basically, effectively, he said like the Ukrainian war is a dead end now and it's not going to work. Like he's just coming to reality, and so they arrested him. What's his name? Ilya Remeslo, formerly pro-Kremlin, before he published a manifesto in March that accused Putin of wanting endless wars and rejected his legitimacy as Russian president. He's the He's the Russian Tucker Carlson, if there wasn't already a Russian Tucker Carlson, which is the actual Tucker Carlson. But he's doing to he's doing to Vladimir Putin what Tucker Carlson is doing to Trump.
Yeah, and this is going to get worse.
Yep,
it's going to get a lot worse for the Kremlin because a lot of these guys are going to find. I mean, you can't, even if you shut down Telegram, they'll find another way.
Yeah.
The information age is not really something that works well for the Kremlin. Again, because, and this is part of the problem why we have a problem here in Ukraine, is because the entire system is meant to be opaque. It's meant to be done behind closed doors with the powerful people, the people that actually matter, because they don't believe in individual rights. And that's what Ukraine is fighting against. So it's not going to change unless Ukraine wins. A lot of people are going to look at this and they're going to be like, oh, look how corrupt Ukraine is. Well, yeah, but they're trying to change. That's the difference. The Russians have no intent on changing.
Right.
That's what drives me nuts.
Completely agree.
Welcome back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
You know, after Tucker Carlson went to Russia and was touting how beautiful the place is based on the one hotel they put him in that's completely mic'd and filmed by the Kremlin, and going to one restaurant, one grocery store, and one subway stop, right? And the rest of the time being driven around in limousines to avoid seeing how actual Russians live. One of the things he would talk about is like kind of like is it Sagar on Breaking Points or whatever, talking about China, and he's like he was promoting some BS that the CCP had put out about like Shenzhen and other stuff, and he was like, must be nice to live in a real country, talking about China. And you're like, that's become like a joke meme, especially on the China show. Those guys are great. You should check them out if you haven't. But you know, one of the things that, you know, I guess I find odd about maggots in general being pro-Russia in any way, other than just their affinity for strongmen or the illusion of strongmen, is that there are no gun rights in Russia, and then certainly no. The concept of free speech is ridiculous. So the idea that you can even tout the strength of a leader in a country where the stuff that makes it difficult for a leader is outlawed is odd to me. Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just that. I recently saw the speaker Mike
Johnson.
Johnson's whole thing about like we put in God we trust because we were showing the difference of the Soviet system.
Yeah,
right. The godless communists. Well, what he doesn't understand, what Johnson doesn't understand, what Tucker doesn't understand, what a lot of these people don't understand is Russians don't believe in the idea of human rights. They will get very upset if you say that to them. They will protest all the way and say, you don't understand us. You don't, how dare you say that? But it is the inflection point between Western liberal democracies and Russia's idea of the state's relationship with its citizenry. They do not, you are born naked and afraid into this world. You are grist for the mill. You are meant to be utilized by the state for the betterment of the state. You have no rights except for the rights that are given to you by the state. Whereas we believe in the idea of the state does not give you my rights. We have
the state protects them.
I'm born with those. It is not within the state's remit to grant me those rights. They are mine, given to me by my creator. Now they can put infringements upon it if you engage in criminality. It gets into a whole philosophical discussion about these things. But the fundamental difference between what Moscow believes and what we believe in the West is that these are rights that are ours because we are not chickens, cattle, or
cannon fodder.
Yeah, we're not cannon fodder.
Yeah,
I wish people understood that better.
Yeah, and
I really do. That's what we're fighting for. That's what Ukraine is fighting for.
Exactly. I do find it odd that that's been a story told for a long time, and there were certainly people in the sort of McCarthyites that were pushing that very thing, that it was about God versus godless. But it isn't so much about whether you have a God or not. It's what that says about your behavior towards your fellow man. And that's the point. And the problem is that we weren't against communists because the idea of sharing and caring is bad, or that there's a system in place where, everybody gets together and, we all pull together like it's, a tug of war against reality. And we're all just trying to save each other, like, that in a communal way. The problem is just this distillations of the have-nots become mechanized as part of the state, and the haves end up like Vladimir Putin living in something that looks like Liberace's birthday cake, and, in where's his Sochi or whatever, wherever his little house is. And that's the difference. It isn't, again, what does being religious versus being an atheist or whatever say about your character? Over here, we would say, kind of nothing, because we operate under the envelope you're talking about, under the umbrella you're talking about, which is whether you're religious or not in the United States, we operate under the Constitution, and the Constitution states that those rights are inalienable. They exist, period. Yep. And in Russia, there's two big problems with the Russian ideal that you were just talking about. One, besides them being wrong, whatever, but the idea that the state controls you, and the definition of what that state is can be anything from a czarist system to an alleged communist socialist system to whatever the hell kleptocratic gangster state they have there now. The state is still the state is still the state. So the structure doesn't change, even if the philosophy supposedly has. That's really scary. The other part is what you were talking about, is where this idea that Putin has, where anywhere a Russian soldier puts his foot is Russian territory. And the concept of Ruski Mir, the Russian world that we talk about, is just as permeate in their political and imperialistic thinking as anything we'd ever hear from the Ayatollahs wanting to make the whole world Shiite, right, that we're supposed to be afraid of. That's a real thing. It's not just us versus them. We're really hiding a fight over who has better oil or who has better electronics or business, or we're trying to muscle them out of crypto or anything. It's a genuine belief system that supports the governmental structure in both countries. Even Trump had to get in by BSing his own people about those facts.
Yeah.
He had to lie to them that their rights were important and that he cared about them and stuff, and that he wouldn't misuse their tax dollars and rip them off and all that stuff. In Russia, there's sort of like a level of expectation of it, but it's certainly in the kleptocracy class and in Russia's cabinet and the people around him, and certainly him. The idea is like, yeah, this is what we do so we can take over. You can't take over. You can't build pyramids without slaves. That's the reality. So if we want to do big stuff, guess what? Somebody's going to have to work against their will.
Yeah, well, Lincoln's writing about it in 1855.
Mm-hmm.
This is not new. This is
a constant struggle. Right.
It's a constant struggle. At least we try to adhere to these values.
That's right.
Whereas the Russians just say, you don't have,
they don't exist.
Whatever, you don't have any God-given rights. You are not born with rights.
So
you have to take them. You have to struggle and
from somebody else.
From somebody else. That's right.
Yeah.
It's a zero.
Not even just from the environment. Not just like, life's a struggle because gravity sucks and it's hard to get off. We only got one Earth and there's only so much water. And if you fall into the ocean, you better start swimming. That's the kind of struggle most people are aware of. It's this is wholly different. And to my point about the Tucker Carlson crowd that seems to like beat their chest about how great Putin is. And again, he's great in a situation, according to them, that lacks the response by the public that they tout while they're over here. We got to be armed so that we can fight against a tyrannical government, and we should have freedom of speech, and it should be absolute. Neither of those exist in Russia. And what happened to this mill blogger? What did they do? They put him in a mental hospital.
Yep.
It's exactly what they claim Democrats are going to do in the United States in some dystopian future they cock up in their head, but it's happening right now, and they're still rooting for the guy that's the system he operates. It's bizarre.
Yeah, and I can't ever talk about that Tucker Carlson trip without mentioning that the metro he went to was Kievskaya Metro. Kiev Metro.
Yeah.
Is filled with pro-Soviet, pro-Moscow. Oh, we went and liberated these poor little, farmers in Ukraine, and we're the great Slavic savior that gets to define what it is to be, Slavic or whatever. We're the ones who get to define Ukrainian identity, and Tucker doesn't say a dang thing about it. He doesn't even mention that he was at Kievskaya. He had to know he was going to Kiev Station. Somebody at some point had to say, it's wait, what station are we driving to? Well, we're driving to Kiev Station. And if I'm a sincere player, if I'm an honest player, I'd be like, could we go? Could we maybe go to another one? Because Kiev Station sounds.
Here's a good idea. How about get on a train there and go to the end of the line?
Yeah.
How about that? I mean, honestly, like if that's one of the things you could do to explore a place you're in. I've been to the end of the line on a bunch of trains in China. I've gone from Beijing and Shanghai out to the end of the bullet train line, out to an area where I have no idea why they ever built a train station there in the first place, and neither does anybody that lives out there. There are tumbleweeds in the station. We've been to the end of it because we got picked up and driven to a portion of the desert that was even further out past that to ride camels and take pictures. And like, it was ridiculous. But Tucker Carlson went exactly where they wanted him to go and fully complied with that. And that's the same thing with Candace Owens when she went over. I'm sure they wined and dined her and showed her the sights in St. Petersburg, and she went to only the places they want you to go.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you are
considering her Instagram pictures,
right.
I mean, they took her to the military church that exists inside the Kremlin. They took her, you know, in Petersburg. They took her to, you know, down to the Nevsky River and, you know, Nevsky Prospect and all the kind of like great, you know, cathedrals that are down there. Sure, of course, it looks lovely.
If you have handlers,
go to Murmansk, go to Irkutsk.
Right.
And then tell me how fantastic
this is. This is my piece of advice to any journalist or tourist or anybody who's out there, that just understand that if you go to a country where you have handlers making sure you get someplace, what they're really doing, and this is from experience, my friends, what they're really doing is not getting you where you need to go. They're keeping you away from where they don't want you to go. That's their actual job. They don't want you wandering off the path at Disneyland and looking behind the wall where the dumpsters are. They don't want you to see the rats in the garbage. And you know, it can be, you know, there can be an innocent reason in some countries for that, where they're like trying to make it look good for the world because they're an impoverished country and they're trying to polish that. That's not what's happening in Russia and China. That is not what's happening. It's silly.
It's a reason why we used to call gaslighting a Potemkin village.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it literally is a Russian term, Potemkin village.
Right. And if you want a great example, go look on. I'm sure there are Russian versions of this, or there were before the war. There's fewer of them now. There's a lot less because you can't even post on YouTube and you can't stream certainly from Russia now. But look at the China, like China's ahead. China's 10 years in the future. China's the cities of the future. China's ahead of the United States. Go look at any of those videos and go look at the people doing them. And I want you to watch 5 of them in a row. You can speed through them at 3 times speed if you want to. And you will see the same 6 things from almost the exact same angle. You'll see in China, you'll see the burger drone that lands and somebody gets food out of it. You'll see the same site of the city at night from the same angle of all the buildings lit up with LEDs. Why? Because you've got someone making sure you don't film anything else. And the other thing is, you know why all the buildings in Shanghai, for example, and this should key you in on kind of this is just permission to rant for a second on this. Do you know why they light up all the buildings in Shanghai and Shenzhen with all the LEDs and have them run all the time? Because one of the ways that foreign powers and governments tell that there's economic activity is energy usage after sundown. If your factories keep cranking after the sun goes down, that is proof of economic, an economic engine going on. So the amount of energy a place puts out is one of the things they check a box. It's automatic. And if nobody is in this building, but the lights are on all the time, the assumption is that who would do that? That's ridiculous. Therefore, there must be industry here. And so it creates the illusion of this business happening. And so whenever you see those and you want to ooh la la about the lights on the outside, understand they have a practical function to sell false business, basically lie to investors. That's how they do it. And it's the same as Russia taking all of their people that they bring, Tucker Carlson and all that crowd, to the same subway station. It's always the Kyiv subway station. Yeah. I have never seen them at another one. Nobody has. You know what they haven't done, though? Tucker Carlson, we got to take a break, but you know what Tucker Carlson hasn't done? He hasn't sat down and watched 10 hours of Russian dash cam footage and Russian group fight footage. Yeah, then start telling me about the first world nature of the most powerful and religious country in the world. Oi. All right, we got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I was going to say, go to all the places where they rely on outhouses.
Yes, right.
Even indoor plumbing.
Yeah. Like somebody just said, it sounds like Vegas. That's what they're trying to do. Vegas is open 24 hours. That's the thing. There is constant activity there, but they don't keep the roller coaster running with anybody in it. They shut that down. Thank you. The building's lit up and the sphere goes 24/7, but it's not an illusion. It's just because people are coming and going all the time.
I am happy, you are happy. Let us be happy together. Whether the weather is cloudy or sunny, I will always be your funny honey bunny. I am lucky, you are lucky. Let us get lucky together. Whether the weather is cloudy or breezy, I'll be there to say, hey, come on, let's take it easy. Because isn't it nice to have the friends that you do? And isn't it nice that the sky is so blue? And isn't it nice to say I love you? Chugga, chugga, choo, choo, woo, woo. I am smiling, you are smiling. Let us smile together. Whether the weather is cloudy or stormy, I will still be there in the morning. I'll be right by your side in the morning. I'll make you breakfast in the morning. I hope that you like cereal.
Yay! Hooray! So Johnny Million is well rested this week because he had such a series of great shows last time. We got to hang out. I think my happy ending is that I'm still buzzing from being able to do the show in person with my kid in the other room, and
you know what we didn't do? We didn't get a selfie.
Yeah, I know. We take that for granted every time. We got to start doing that stuff. Kids today, we need, that's the problem. My kid's not phone hungry. He's not a screenager. He just isn't. Right. So he's like, Insta. Like, he's just not one of those kids. Like, he's too busy.
Yeah, he's actually pretty bad at his phone. I was helping him with some stuff because I was trying to airdrop something to him.
Right, yeah. Which, I should find that for our happy ending as well. I'll dig that up. But in the meantime, we've got more questions. But let's grab those first, and then I'll look for this and I'll play it because I know it's in there. Yeah.
All right, so here's the next one. This is from Rob Hersey. Ask Philip if he thinks Putin is close to being overthrown.
Yeah, yes and no. When it happens, it will happen abruptly, but it won't happen until it happens. If that very murky explanation. I mean, it's something that will happen suddenly, and I don't think anybody can go look at a calendar and say if it continues on this direction, if they're still losing 1,000 men a day in another 90 days, another 90,000 casualties, then that'll be the breaking point. It will be sudden. It will be abrupt. And unfortunately, it'll probably be violent. But I don't think anybody who tells you that Putin is on the verge of being overthrown is expressing wishful thinking, but is not incorrect. I mean, it could happen. It could happen tomorrow. It could happen in 5 minutes, or it may not happen for another 10 years. Doubtful that it'll be another 10 years, but it's that's the problem with it, is that when it happens, it will happen suddenly.
So there was a piece of good news, though, before we get to that. You ran into Boston Brian on the streets.
Yeah,
randomly.
About an hour ago.
Was?
Yep.
Look at that.
About an hour ago.
Nice.
Yep.
He just texted me that.
Which is why I came back. I had to come back home to get on with you. I was out grabbing dinner, and he walked right past me. Apparently, yeah, he's in town. He's delivering some vehicles. I think he may be doing some other kind of support work and aid work. So yeah, at some point we plan to sit down for a meal or maybe do a collaboration in the studio at some point. So yeah,
That'd be
yeah,
amazing.
That's awesome.
literally just ran into him.
I'm going to see if I can play this just for Johnny Million. This is what Johnny wanted to share with my son when he was in studio with us. A Snapchat that I sent of Camden in an Abe Lincoln Snapchat filter. Is it not playing? Hold on. Damn it. Do I have to? All right, hold on one second.
I heard it.
Oh, you did? You heard it? Okay, good. Yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Hello, I am John
Abraham Lincoln.
I'm John Abrahamkin. You are.
I'm John Abrahamkin. You should play that at the end of your show, like the MTM meow.
John
Abraham.
Like when I met him, Howard thought that we'd met before, but we hadn't. I said, the only thing I know of you is the Abraham Lincoln video. And he's like, what? What Abraham Lincoln video? So
yeah, Cam was like 6 or something, or 4. He was like 4 years old.
4.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
amazing.
that made us both very happy. Just the John Abrahamkin quote. As we always quote John Abrahamkin on this show. All right, let's grab another question before I get too distracted.
All right, the next. All right, so has Phil had any contact with Boston Brian? Check.
Oh, got it.
What about the first reported autonomous vehicle to recover wounded frontline Ukrainian soldier from NOLA reports? That's from Eric Pekarsky.
Yeah, they have drones, ground drones that are specifically intended for that purpose. So, they go in, they'll drop a. They don't do it like a stretcher necessarily. They do it more like putting out some canvas, and then the soldier gets rolled onto that canvas, and then it's pulled along behind the ground drone. At least those are the ones that I have seen.
What Crypto did for Superman in that movie? Crypto,
yes.
home. And he grabs him by the cape.
Dragged him by his cape. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Actually, I think the movie about Dawes, Private Dawes in the Second World War, that movie that they did with Andrew Garfield and Vince Vaughn, where he basically. Yeah. It's a great movie. It's about a pacifist in World War II in the Pacific Theater. And he keeps going up and down a ledge where they're fighting the Japanese. And he goes up and he gets this lieutenant, throws him onto a poncho, and basically drags him behind. And his lieutenant, played by Vince Vaughn, still got his grease gun, and he's firing at the Japanese as they're coming. And Dawes is dragging him behind. It's kind of like that with these drones. I mean, it's an amazing piece of kit. These things, and the innovation. I mean, this is one of the reasons why Fedorov is kind of revered, is that he's young enough to be at the cutting edge of these drone technologies, and that's why a lot of people really like him. So again, Ukraine is at the forefront of drone technology. Even I think, and people argue with me about this, I think even surpassing the Russians. The Russians have drones that they can build in capacity, large numbers, but they only have a couple of tools in their toolbox. They make Shaheeds, and they make FPV drones, and that's pretty much it, more or less. The Ukrainians have ground drones. They have medium range drones to hit supply lines. They have drones that are meant to take out artillery or strong points, kind of bunkers, and then they have the FPVs and all the rest of it. So I think the Ukrainians are the most advanced drone military in the world, and it's partly because they are constantly inventing. And this, bringing us back to our original topic, which we're talking about, Fedorov, is that one of the main questions is, what's the relationship between the Ministry of Defense and these private contractors, and is it all on the up and up? Is somebody from the Ministry of Defense getting a cut from a drone company developer, or vice versa? Is somebody at the Ministry of Defense granting contracts so that somebody who has a powerful drone company can wet his beak. That's the problem with all this obscurity and then the opaqueness of Ukrainian society, which they are trying to change. I have lived here long enough. I have spoken to enough Ukrainians. The mantra that I hear all the time from Ukrainians is our first enemy is the Russians, our second enemy is corruption, and we have to deal with both. And whether or not we can deal with both during a time of war, or whether or not we have to beat the Russians first and then really tackle corruption, that's a constant argument that's going on here. But by the fact that you see people taking to the streets over the last couple of days, there are people who want this issue, this corruption issue, dealt with right now. And that's what, at the base of it, these protests are about. And I'm, as a foreigner, and also someone who recognizes this because I've studied this part of the world enough, I am willing to wait this out until things are decided in those closed door meetings. But I am glad to see Ukrainians exercising their rights of assembly and freedom of speech. I think that's very important as well. But this won't be decided in public. This will be decided behind closed doors. And then when it all shakes out, we'll know about it. We haven't gotten there yet.
Right.
And that's also a problem. That's also a big, not to interrupt, but that's also a big problem with the people who are critical of Ukraine, is that they don't understand that you need to, there are major fundamental, basic ways of, of the system here in a post-Soviet country that need to be dealt with. And it's certainly not going to be better if Moscow wins this war. So for everyone who says, oh, the Ukrainians are all corrupt and Zelensky's corrupt and we shouldn't have anything to do with them, well, they're not going to get better if we leave them to Moscow's whims. So, it's got to be
as we near the end of the show, I want to remind everybody to subscribe to Philip Bittner's show On the Edge on his YouTube channel. Johnny Million also has a show, It's Johnny Million, on YouTube and on Twitch as well. I live stream almost all the time, except Sundays. We take back one kadam for the Hebrew God for this, who owns this staff or whatever. Candy in our chat said that she's finally found the name for these frequently visiting squirrel. She's going to call him John Abrahamkin. That's actually made it. And Hal Vickery points out that we are together and again, but separate, which is really nice. I appreciate that very much. In that, and we will see you guys next week. Hit the like, share the show, subscribe if you could to the YouTube channel. Help us get to 100K. I think we're approaching it at a faster clip than ever before. It's very exciting. I'm just trying to get that little placard before we move into the new studio. Wouldn't that be nice? And I know it's not a studio. It's just another section of a basement, but that's still a thing. All right. But appreciate you. Thank you, Chicago. And thank you, Johnny. And thank you, Phil. And we will see you guys next week. Also, Phil will be on my show on Wednesday on the live stream at, and just go to howsparks.com for the links.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Chicago.
There we go. So that was really cool that you ran into Boston Brian, though. Thank you. Yeah. That was awesome.
I'll be seeing them again.
Anne-Marie.
We're going to do a collab next week. He'll come into the studio. He may stay at the studio, actually, a little bit.
All right. I think that would be a good guest for On the Edge in a pinch. Get that old Boston Brian energy. Ax says, I'm hearing Trump's speech being referred to as the Pettysburg Address, which I think is magic.
That's awesome.
That's good.
That's awesome. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, yeah. There's a big thing. Poop Bear Grubber's pointing out that Congressman Ryan wants on the House Arms Committee wants Keg Breath to explain all the senior military firings in the next 5 days. We have a system where people react to the kind of stuff where people are put in this, in positions they don't deserve and are taken out of positions they do deserve, and that happens. And sometimes people support it inside the cabinet and inside the electorate. Some people don't. So we have a system by which they put back, and you would never say that we don't have a functioning system because somebody complains about something and their complaints aren't met because they're outnumbered or there's a better reason, or they simply have somebody that was voted in before who's just an asshole, like Trump, who just goes ahead and does it anyways. The system is it is actually built on the foundation of being able to complain. It doesn't mean you'll get what you want, but having the right to do that is extraordinary. Thank you, Treva. Happy Nelson Mandela Day. So that's what every time somebody's like, they're complaining about the corruption and they're protesting or they're standing outside or people are bringing it out in the newspaper in Ukraine. I'm like, that's proof that you're okay. Yeah. That's the proof. You're allowed to do it. They're not putting your people in mental hospitals for even bringing up the thing. So, yeah. Jason, thank you very much for we try to do actual news, but with also fart and poop sound effects, because the explosive diarrhea, they got to the, I almost said they got to the bottom of the explosive diarrhea thing. They did. They found out where it came from.
The farms. Yeah.
They found the farms. It was a distributor in California, so everybody jumped on that immediately, but it was actually from a place in Mexico. And shockingly, I know this is going to be, people by and large got it at Taco Bell. I wouldn't have seen that coming personally. That explosive diarrhea, Taco Bell. Say it ain't so. I
hear they they wanted it to be on their terms. They didn't.
They wanted to release it on their own time, kind of like a
Yeah, well, if you're gonna poo yourself, they want it to be like because of the Taco Bell, not because of some virus.
Do you think people yell "Oh quiero" like really loudly? Sorry. The anyway, so they're saying keep on. Thank you.
That's what Jeff Daniels is yelling.
That's exactly right. This is, yes, we're going live now to, I'm not going to throw it in there. That would be wrong of me this is live from Taco Bell headquarters. The CEO is making a statement. He is trying to explain. Yeah. So anyways, Phil, I'll let you go. It's nighttime where you are. Guys. So bless you. Poor and Phil. John, poor Phil. I hate working with children. Anyways, thanks, Phil. All right, cheers. And then, cheers. And then, Johnny, do you have a stream today?
No, I did it yesterday, and it went very well.
I know. I heard you were doing one yesterday. I just don't know if I got to take time off, let the fingers rest. I'm curious about this, genuinely, my friend. Is this was this a bass?
This was 100% lead guitar yesterday.
Oh, wow. All right.
Yeah.
I think that's good. Wow.
Yeah, and I played some on the on my new-ish Ty Tabors Strat.
Oh, you bastard. Look at that.
With those pickups.
It looks 3 single coils.
Yeah.
Look at that.
With little push buttons instead of a switch.
Oh, yeah. You can combine which ones are pushed down and which ones are up and that kind of stuff. So you can do odd combos, which you couldn't do.
Yeah, and it's got active electronics.
Ooh. So you got batteries in it all the time. So you get to occasionally open the back of it and go, that's fine.
Yep.
Yeah. That's very nice. I want you to play that for me. I've been doing lately is, because I can see it on the horizon, Johnny Million. I'm still going to be as, wonky and political as I was before the Trump era showed up. And I think I can do it as charmingly and as funny as I can. But when we're not white knuckling our government anymore, I'm one of the few people that that can transition to doing something else. Mm-hmm. I don't have to just pick fights and hope it's as horrifying.
Find something else to be an angry pundit about.
Exactly. So one of the things that I've been thinking about doing for a while, because my journey singing wise has been such a interesting one, especially of late, that I've learned so many things that if I'd have known them 15 years ago, I would have made 20 years of progress.
Right.
And so I would love to do what I would call like an educational documentary, like the singer's journey, where you go, talk to people who've lost their voice and recovered, talk to, singers who've had rough patches, had to have surgery, talk to them about that process, how they got back, and then go to every place from Juilliard to the bel canto guy that taught Sebastian Bach and all those guys. Mm-hmm. And go, how do you find your voice and get yourself there as a movie? Like it's with a narrative, but a narrative documentary, but that has actual techniques in it. In this day and age, you could
put wild.
You could put in, links into the description, kind of stuff that goes with it. that just has it up there just for the sake of doing it. And I would love to do the same thing with guitar, because I had to learn to play guitar twice because of my broken finger.
Yeah.
So I had to almost start over, and it defined a difference in how I play. And then all I think about is Django Reinhardt and only having 2 fingers. And I'm like, what am I bitching about? Right.
Right.
And I've always felt like, as a singer, if Neil Young and Bob Dylan can have singing careers, we all can get there, ladies and gentlemen. It's just amount of, But and I think it's because I'm so evangelical about this little fella.
Your little straw.
My little straw. I'm telling you, man, I if I'd have known just that little bit, I'd have saved myself blowing my throat out probably 10 times in my life. And it's amazing. And to me, that's how most things are. I've always said that whatever you dream of doing, Johnny Million, whatever your goal is, whatever thing if only one day I could do that thing, whatever that thing is, I guarantee there's an idiot who's been doing it for 3 years.
For real.
You know what I mean? There are people you wouldn't let park your car who are amazing.
Or there's some kid in China who's 14 years old who's mastered the thing that you want to do.
Well, that usually is because that makes people shy away from it, because they think it's hyper dedication and they don't let you do anything else, and you have to be beaten with sticks to do something that well. But it isn't. It really isn't. And there are a bunch of people who no, you just develop your thing over time and just let yourself do it. That's the hardest part, letting yourself do the thing you love until you can get really good at it. That's the hardest thing in anything talent. I would say, so I would love, we need to do one of those about singing and guitar and drums and bass and keys. One, and then maybe one about writing and conducting music or something, and have Kip Winger do it or something, because his classical work. Well, I mean, I'm talking about the decades of my life ahead. You know what I mean? The goal is to continue to. I'm not going to do them all in an afternoon, but the idea is that those I think would be really helpful, because I've never found anything like that, and I was like, that would be good, that would be helpful, and go more than I can watch 9 podcasts in a row and hope they line up, there's a cohesion there, right? Go make the cohesion. Anyways, I know I'm keeping you, so bless you and thank you for hanging around.
You are keeping me.
I'm keeping you from not doing stuff. So get out of here, Johnny Million. I ban you.
No, you.
No, you. I ban you. You are gone. Oh no! Wait, you're good. I made you go away. There you go. I really did. Here you're back. Now you can't leave.
Back.
Look at that. See.
Now you can't leave.
Huh? Now you can't leave. I got yous.
That's from what is it? The Bronx Tale.
Oh yeah, right. Where it goes, you only know if your girl's a winner if she reaches across and unlocks the door for you.
Oh that's that whole thing. But this is when the biker gang is in there, and he's got all the Italian rough guys in the back room who've been dying to beat somebody up.
Right.
And they come in and they start messing up the bar and try to get them to go, and they won't leave. And then he comes out and locks the door. Now you just can't leave.
You're right. Look at that. Now you just can't leave. That's so fun. So that's why you said that when I came over to your house. It was so terrifying.
Yeah,
and
locked
now
the door.
I realized.
Now you can't leave.
Right. I thought it was a Coward of the County reference.
Nope.
You could have heard a pin drop when Tommy stopped and locked the door. You don't remember the song Coward of the County? I think it was a Kenny Rogers song after The Gambler. It was yet another one of his. People always called him the Coward of the County, right?
No.
It's a terrible story. It's very country. He was always this kind of pacifist in town. It's like an episode of Kung Fu in a country song. Like everybody's picking on him, trying to start stuff, and he never would. And then they sexually assaulted and roughed up his girl or his wife or I forget who it was, his sister, whoever it was in the storyline. And then he just walked in and locked the door behind him. Like it was Somebody will know that song. Yeah, it is Kenny Rogers. I thought so. Yeah. You're becoming a dad, and things are becoming slightly more precious to you and stuff like that. When the end of The Gambler makes you cry, when when he closes his eyes and drifts off to sleep or whatever, and, you know, somewhere in the darkness, the gambler, he broke even. That part, and you're like, oh,
yeah.
He's in the train. Yeah, it's very sad. And you know, that is the first song I ever sang in public. At the Owenton State Fair in Kentucky, on the back of a hay wagon, I sang The Gambler when I was, how old was I? 8? 8. And I won a little ribbon. My mom has it in a trunk at home. Yeah. All right,
I'm not with these fellas. I've got a hog in the what is it? That guy who's in the that thing you do.
Oh, okay. Right.
He's like that Steve Zahn. He's like, I'm not with these fellas. I got a hog in the competition. I'm gonna get me blue ribbon.
All right, I'm gonna let you go. I gotta run and do home stuff. So appreciate you, and we will talk soon. And you're awesome, and that kind of stuff. Much love. Love you too. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you soon. Okay, bye. There he goes. See, he at least hung around until I could say bye proper. Now I really do have to run, so I gotta beg out. So in honor of the fact that we started a war again with Iran this week, or last weekend, and continued it all this week, and Trump gave a nationwide address to draw attention away from Todd Blanche's being questioned about the Epstein files. I feel like we ought to go out on this one.
Yeah. If they ask,
got it. You ain't seen nothing.
Yeah. We ain't
saying nothing. I'll see you guys.
Can't track this. Screenshots cropped out, can't catch this.
All right, where's my little?
If it looks too wild on the axis, highlight, right click, boom.
Subscribe, will ya?
Redact this. Blood and face can't fact check the madness. Torn out page from the Bad Habits Atlas. If the story get messy, lives highlight, right click, boom. Redact this. I was young, I was dumb, I was scrolling. Type way too much, hit send, heart swollen. Now I keep receipts like a lawyer with a folder, but anything risky get hit with the toner. Whole group chat got tails, I ain't claim. If my name pop up, that's a typo, blame. Who's that in the pic? Man, that ain't go strange. That's a random stranger with a very close face. Understanding my friends, I plead don't recall. If they ask for the tape, it's a missing file. If they pull up the clip, that's deep fake style. If they show me the proof, I just smile. Like red this. Black ball from my past, can't track this. Screenshots cropped out, can't catch this. If it looks too wild on the axis, highlight, click, boom. Red this. Blur that face, can't fact check the madness. Torn out page from the Bad Habits Atlas. If the story get messy in the ad-libs, highlight, right click, boom. Yeah. If it hit too close, that's a rumor I heard. If the dateline match, that's a clerical error. If the outfit match, that's a popular shirt. If the tattoo match, that's a stock photo search. I'm allergic to questions off in the light. I just added the ending, off in the bite. Take the worst 3 parts of the night, then slice like fun was that. And we every X got a chapter I seal. Every text got a gap in the reel. I ain't lying, I'm curating the reveal. Just trimming little bits of the raw, real deal. If you saw, if you know, you didn't. If you talk, if they ask, we glitching. Swipe out, grab that frame out. If it make me look foul, delete then fade out. Black ball from my past, can't track this. Screenshots cropped out, can't catch this. If it looks too wild on the axis, highlight, right click, boom, redact this. Blur that face, can't fact check the madness. Torn out page from the Bad Habits Atlas. If the story get messy in the ad-libs, highlight.